Thanks so much for tuning in to India Market Close right here on NDTV Profit. It's a good day of trade because you've seen the markets trend higher, and if we can get the intraday, I would suspect that we are circa the highest point of the day on the benchmark index, led predominantly by IT. That is the index that's doing really well for itself. But like I said, we are hovering around the highest point of the day. Banks are not doing that today. Remember on the trade setup today, we spoke about banks showed the upside yesterday. It's very difficult to call this upside on private banks and banking index in general because it's just an index that is seeing a sell on every rise. But IT is a different kettle of fish altogether. IT has done remarkably well in the session today as well, 2% higher. And look at that move. Sure, tapering off a little bit, but still 2% higher, which is very, very strong. Mid cap, small caps participating too. But let me take it to the heat map first because we are seeing strength here and the market breadth is positive. But the heat map will show you the extent of the gains in IT and extent of the losses in life insurance. HDFC Life, SBI Life, the two which had the worst data as far as the month of August goes in terms of APE growth, and the market has recognized that and duly punished both of those. Bajaj Finserv down about 1.5%, as is Bajaj Finance. There is weakness in Hero MotoCorp, Mahindra and Mahindra, and autos seem to be on a bit of a slow drive. What is doing well? Well, Pharma and IT. Divi's Lab up 4%. Bharti Airtel has been a strong call today, is up, and the rest is all IT. LTI, Mindtree, Wipro, HCL Tech, TCS. Adani Ports finds its way there in the top 5 after a really long time. We're seeing Adani Ports in the top 5 gainers, which is interesting. And Power Grid is amongst the other ones. But otherwise, it's largely led by IT and then some pharma. Remember, the majority of the pharma gainers which benefit out of the Biosecure Act are not on the index except for Divi's, so that one is gain. The rest of the ones are at the broader end of the spectrum. I'm guessing Tamanna will highlight them, but it's been a rocking day for IT, for pharma, for some of the global facing sectors in general, Tamanna.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, what I realized is some of the top losers of the last few sessions have also been doing very, very well. What a fantastic, terrific Tuesday really that we have been seeing. And yeah, IT is the star. Let's just pull up the indices on the broader end of the spectrum once before we get to specific stocks. The mid-cap, about 1.5% up. So definitely it's cheer all around. The small-cap index also over 1% up. Specific stocks, let's start with that. Century Textiles. Century Textiles has announced that it's acquired ownership of a 10-acre land parcel for 1,100 crores in Worli. They're going to be developing it through Birla Estates, over 5% up on the stock this afternoon. Insurance companies, I mean, Niraj has highlighted some of them, but double whammy. One is GST, not really seeing any relief. The GST Council not giving any relief on health insurance or life insurance, but also the dismal numbers for the previous month. So HDFC Life, New India, SBI Life, ICICI Lombard, all of them doing fairly badly. More on GST impact. So I found this interesting. Pratap Snacks, Gopal, Bikaji, all of these companies were doing extremely well through the day. They've come off their highs, even though you're seeing a Gopal Snacks up about 7.5%, but most of them have come off their highs after a certain point. And if you look at the impact on companies that make cancer drugs, that also has seen GST being slashed. So, and AstraZeneca, Biocon are still in the positive, no doubt. But again, have come off their highs as well. Bharat Seats is another one. So Bharat Seats was very badly hit because GST has gone up on seat makers for two-wheelers and four-wheelers. So it was a negative impact. They're now up back in the green. So a bit of reversal there. CoForge is the other one we should look at. And yeah, if you're talking about IT, the one standout and also stock of the day is CoForge. Positive brokerage notes also fueling this, over 5% up. So whole host of positive movers there on a day which was pretty good, Niraj. I would say this was a good afternoon for the markets.
Very good afternoon, particularly because the broader end of the spectrum has done so well too. And let's take it to our guests to try and talk about that. Aditya Agarwala, Kush Bohra on the technicals, Chokkalingam on the fundamentals. Good afternoon, rather, all of you. But yeah, it has been a good morning and a good afternoon as well. Thanks so much for joining in, all three of you. Kush Bohra, how are you looking at the index trades currently? The Bank Nifty a lot tepid relative to the index itself or the Nifty IT. Do you take trades in the Nifty? Do you take trades in the Nifty Bank? or avoid index trades?
Hi, Niraj. Looking at it with a slight hint of surprise, 25,100 had a very serious call base. Nifty is on the verge of regaining practically all the losses that it had made on Friday. We're very close to those high levels. The call congestion might actually continue to act as a bit of a resistance. So I will actually be a little cautious on the Nifty for now. Perhaps somewhere closer to the support zones of 25,700, 24,700, 24,800 should be a better buy. Being the expiry also, I think, we might face some resistances. So Nifty for me right now, if the momentum continues, great. But, for me right now, it's just a wait and watch. Similarly, actually for Bank Nifty as well. However, here the caveat would be that the 50-day moving average, which right now is at 51,400, has been acting as a very stiff resistance, not only for the last couple of sessions, but almost for the last 8-10 odd sessions. So if that is taken out, which is 51,400, so that's where the momentum trade will come in on Bank Nifty. So Nifty at the moment is a wait and watch because of the resistances. Bank Nifty too, but there is a trade setting up on Bank Nifty beyond 51,400. This becomes a pure momentum play for targets of 51,800 and 52,200.
Aditya, good afternoon to you as well. Do you agree with that take that there is a trade setting up for the Bank Nifty?
Good afternoon, Tamanna. Good afternoon, Niraj. I think both the Nifty and the Bank Nifty will see much higher levels from here on. Maybe you can have a bit of a cool off because on intraday time frame it has reached slight overbought levels. So that calls for a minor cool off both on the Nifty and the Bank Nifty. But again, they will provide an opportunity to go long. As far as Nifty is concerned, I think 25,000 is a good support area. As far as Bank Nifty is concerned, I think 51, 150, 51, 200 is a good support area. And we should see Bank Nifty crossing that hurdle of 51,800 in the near term. So I think both the Nifty and the Bank Nifty should see higher levels maybe this week and the coming week as well. But yeah, maybe you can wait for a bit of a decline of 50, 60 point on the Nifty and maybe 150 point on the Bank Nifty to initiate fresh long positions.
Chokka, very good afternoon to you. Great to speak with you on the show as well. I want to get your take on IT and the kind of upswing we're seeing in IT companies. Many would argue it's ahead of the Fed meet and the expected rate cut. But do you think that's a sustainable sort of trend right now? Would be a good time to get into IT?
Certainly not. I mean, only those investors who want to be very, very defensive, probably they can invest in large IT stocks. Because if at all there is any market big fall, obviously the rupee will fall badly and that would give some protection. But otherwise, I believe it is overdone. Last 2-3 years, the IT exports are growing in over single digit in dollar term. And there is no visibility of that growth rate changing in, close to 10% or double digit. And valuations are now definitely stretched. And therefore, I firmly believe that at best, they may remain neutral along with the Sensex and Nifty. But making any alpha or any significant return is extremely remote in large IT stocks. That's my firm view.
Okay, let's come to picks then. Before we move ahead and we set up for the rest of the trading session, Kush, on this up move, what would be your top recommendations?
Both of them on the buy side. Havells looks good. This entire space has been doing well. Havells has had a resistance near that 1950, 1920 mark. For the most part of the day, it's sustained very comfortably above it. So I think, up move could continue to the levels of 1970, 1995, 1900 is where you place your stop loss. IEX, this is one other stock which has had a very secular, steady kind of a run. I mean, it's had its share of profit bookings along the way, but that's again a very healthy sign. So IEX continues to surprise on the upside. What you're looking at on the upside as targets at 221 and 226, 210 is where you place your stop loss.
All right. So let me ask Aditya also what his top picks are this afternoon. Aditya?
I've got two buy recommendations, Tamanna. One from the IT space, LTTS looks fantastic on the chart setup. has broken out from a downward sloping channel, bullish flag pattern, we can say. At current levels, one can initiate a fresh long position for a target of 6,300. A slightly longer term time frame target I've given here with a stop loss at 5,400. The second stock is India Mart. Looks very good. A long setup is getting built here, and I think once we have the breakout from the consolidation pattern, stock can see much higher levels. So at current levels, India Mart can also be bought for a target of 35.50 on the upside with a stop loss at 29.30 on the downside.
Okay.
Okay, so LTTS and India Mart are Aditya's topics, but let's talk about the stock of the day, which is CoForge. It's jumped over 5% after bullish notes from Motilal Oswal and Kotak Securities. Mehika is telling us more. Mehika, what are both these brokerage houses excited about when it comes to CoForge?
Yes, they've upgraded on both regards in terms of ratings as well as stock, price targets. The stock hit an intraday high of 5.9% based on this. Volumes over 2 times its 30-day average. I'll start off with Motilal Oswal first. It's upgraded the stock to a buy rating at a target price of 8,100, which implies a 20% upside to the previous closing price. Now, they've said that the company's exposure to the BFSI segment will enable demand recovery. Also, the strong contract value as well as order backlog indicates a robust near-term growth outlook for the company. They've also believed that CoForge could participate in the pre-gen AI-led data modernization spending via their offerings, but the brokerage still needs to see some more evidence on this front. And they've also stated while there is some uncertainty in with regards to the Signity integration, they've said that this integration could be, prove to be an effective long-term asset and can also extract cost synergies sooner than earlier expected. Then we have Kotak Securities. It's maintained its ad rating and it's raised its target price to 7,200 rupees versus 6,600 rupees earlier. Now the target implies a 10% upside to the previous close. This brokerage has also mentioned how the company is well positioned in the BFSI segment and it's well positioned to benefit from the accelerated revenue growth. They expect strong execution in terms of the margin levers in the Signity transition, and they've raised their EBITDA margin estimates by 100 basis points for the company. And lastly, they've said that they're confident of margin expansion in the organic business of the company, and they believe that the company can scale up to be a credible challenger in the segment.
Wow. Okay, 5.3% higher. And, Mehika, I think both Motilal and Kotak in that sense sounded very constructive. Just that I thought Motilal's target price was a lot higher than Kotak's, if I'm not wrong. Yes, it was. Okay. Mehika, thanks for putting that into perspective. That's as far as CoForge goes. Mr. Chokkalingam, you spoke about IIT not being constructive. Have you looked at CoForge individually?
Certainly, it's a great stock, no doubt about it. I mean, one can stay invested because even other 5 to 8% upside is also possible. It's a quality stock. But otherwise, as I mentioned, sector as a whole, is a neutral view, my view. But CoForge, yes, one can continue to hold.
Okay. But the trade is looking very solid here. It's been a trending move upwards today. Aditya, good afternoon. Would you trade a CoForge on the upside?
Good afternoon, Niraj. Oh, absolutely. And if I give you a target, it will be higher than Motilal Oswal's target. It is 84.20 is what I'm getting on CoForge. If one has to invest in CoForge maybe for a year or so, can definitely buy CoForge even at current levels. And as I mentioned, I'm looking for a target of at least 8,400. And IT for me, I think there are pockets within IT which still look very strong. And I think you will have a good outperformance going ahead from the IT companies still even from current levels.
Kush, are you as bullish on CoForge? Aditya has a 8,400 target.
Well, eventually, it might get there. I'm
eventually.
sure it will. Not a big fan of such big targets on trading positions. But no, for sure, the momentum is on the buy side, on the long side. The stocks near, I think, life highs, and on the back of good volume, suggesting that there's a very good possibility that the stock could continue this momentum on the upside. You're looking at 7,100, perhaps 7,300 as well. In this current momentum. But one other stock that's actually looking quite well and is not as discussed is FSL, First Source Limited. Very sharp move over the last couple of months. For the last week or two has been consolidating. And along with the rest of the IT pack, this stock is too, heading higher today. I think there is a very good possibility that, it might breach the recent swing highs of 345 and then make a move towards, 360, 365 kind of levels also. Support comes in at about 310 kind of levels. So first source, after a brief period of consolidation, might resume its uptrend. So CoForge, FSL, I mean, you can take your pick.
Okay. So first source seems more interesting. I mean, Chokkalingam, just a short while ago when I asked you about IT and at these levels, you said no, not really. Different view for CoForge or the same?
I mean, it's a quality-wise good in terms of growth also. And in terms of relative performance also, if you look at the last 4 or 5 quarters, it looks better. But from that perspective, I would say that, one can continue to hold. That would be 5 to 8% upside further.
Okay. All right. Pharma is also in focus for a variety of reasons. So one, of course, is the GST cut on cancer drugs. This helps companies, especially those that import these drugs into the country. And another one is an important update from the US in terms of a policy. Now, remember, you saw this take first here on NDTV Profit quite a few days ago, where we talked about the Biosecure Act and how this will be an advantage for certain Indian pharmaceutical companies. Varsha joins us with more details on this.
Most of the CDMO companies are buzzing today. Now, this is on the back of US Biosecure Act. So, US House passes Biosecure Bill targeting some of the Chinese biotech firms. Now, let's see what this is. So, US Biosecure Act, which has been passed, will ban US companies from partnering with certain Chinese biotech firms. Now, which are the companies that are being banned is you have BGI Genomics, you have MGI Tech, then Complete Genomics, Wuxi Aptech, and Wuxi Biologics. So, these are all the Chinese biotech firms which will be banned. Now, why this is being done is to prevent misuse of US genomic data. Now, because now these companies are being banned, now US drug makers will ship to Indian CDMO companies for their supply base. And this is the potential benefit for Indian pharma companies. Now, why this is being done? So, if you see the China CDMO industry holds around 8% share of global market, and Indian CDMO industry has a smaller share at almost 2.7%. Now, this act is seen as an opportunity for India to challenge China's dominance, and this act could boost India's position in global CDMO market. Now, are we seeing this inquiry? So, according to India Rating Research, 60% of Indian listed pharma companies sees more business inquiries. Out of its 33% believes that this act could actually give them that business growth, and Indian companies may see increased orders from US in next 12 to 18 months, and companies are also getting pilot projects or RFQs. Now, which are the companies that will be benefited? You have Syngene International, you have Laurus Lab, you have Newland Labs, DV's Lab, and Suven Pharma. So if you see, these all are the companies are actually buzzing as of today because of the US Biosecure Act that has been passed.
Okay, so the US Biosecure Act is also one, Philip. But anyway, I mean, let's be honest, pharma has been on an uptrend for a while, not just today. And I'm going to come to you, Choka, first on your take on pharma, whether it's the AstraZenecas which benefit from the GST cut. First of all, do you think that there's going to be a clear benefit, a revenue impact kind of benefit with this GST cut?
Marginally, yes. Even this, what is happening in the US market is also favorable. There is no doubt about it. It's very favorable to Indian pharma industry. The only problem is when you look at individual stocks, some stocks are trading at 70 PE, 80 PE, like stocks like Syngene and all. So, and if you look at the Biocon, still sitting on nearly 12 to 13,000 crore of debt, and and there is a problem of severe fall in the realization. So, my understanding is that the outlook for pharma sector is mixed within the industry, while the prospects look very good. So therefore, I would be really selective on the stocks. So I continue to reiterate my stance on Dr. Reddy, which is still trading at around 20-21 PE and sitting on a lot of cash. And that's one stock which I believe extremely attractive within the pharma space.
Kush, any picks over here? Or has the story run its course?
But Divi still looks interesting, and we did discuss this in the show during the day as well. The target of 5,400 for purely from a momentum perspective. Surprised to see that. Pleasantly surprised to see that the stock is near the high of the day, and we're heading in the close. So this momentum could very well continue. If someone is holding this position, you should continue to hold on till 56 and 57, 50 kind of levels. 50 to 50 is a good level where you can place your stop loss. We've also discussed Concord Biotech a couple of days ago, where we mentioned that the targets were hit, but the stock continues to perform rather well, show a lot of strength. Comparatively, compared to what the market is doing, the stock is showing strength on an ongoing basis. So I think this is one stock. If you have, you should continue to hold. If not, then you can re-enter or enter rather with targets of 1950 and 2000 up kind of levels, and 1800 will now start acting as a support group. So Concord Biotech continues to impress on the upside.
I'll tell you what impresses on the upside right now is Epigrel. Epigrel is up, has like a big bump up in that stock in the session. So watch out for that one. There is strength. Of course, we've marked Divi's for sure. KPI Green has had a bit of a bounce as well. Nothing as compared to Epigrel, but still showing some bit of an uptick. Samman Capital is up about 1% and third or thereabouts, or slightly more. But Epigrel clearly takes the cake, and then followed by some others as well. Actually, Aditya, trade this one, Epigrel?
We can still trade this one, Niraj. I was just checking the chart setup. It's a fresh breakout on very good volumes. So that tells me that maybe we can look at the delivery volumes. But at current levels, yes, I would want to trade the stock, go long with a stop loss just below 2000, and maybe look for a target of 2300 and then 2450. These are the two targets that I'm getting on the stock. You would want to buy some at current levels, definitely.
Just before I move on to the next topic, sorry, Mr. Chokkalingam, but I forgot coming to you on the pharma piece. This CDMO, CRO thing and this Biosecure Act, it's a long way out. But some of these stocks have bumped up in the last few days. What do you do with the CDMO players? Newland, Divi's, Laurus, Syngene, etc.?
Definitely, Syngene is a sell. They are expecting improvement only in the second half. Even September quarterly result is going to be pretty bad. And, very tough call. It's a massive bull market, so everything goes up. So, but fundamentals definitely not in favor of stocks like Newland or Syngene. So, if you ask me, for every rise, sell, in a phased manner and park them in, bank deposits and gold ETF and some part of it in the large Nifty and Sensex stocks, because I continue to believe, that Nifty and Sensex will rise at least another, 8 to 10% by end of the current financial year. So this is what I would suggest strongly.
Himadri Chemicals is up about 6.5% as well. So a lot of stocks flying around in trade. DB Corp incidentally has gained too. But I'll tell you one stock which is in focus right now is Zaggle. It's jumped on the back of its partnership with HDFC Ergo. We spoke to the MD and CEO Avinash Godkhindi about partnership and how it aids the company. Listen into what he had to say.
HDFC Ergo, it's a year to begin with. This is our platform called Propel, which is our channel incentive platform, and it's one of our oldest, most stable products, which is also growing. And the whole concept is that as you have brands want their solutions or their offerings to sell, and to sell those solutions, they provide incentives to channel partners and employees, right? So this is about providing incentives to the channel partners, to their employees, to be able to drive traction. Overall, Propel is a very critical part of our business. And while it's been growing steadily at a larger base, we continue to see growth in Propel as such across different industries.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Chokkalingam, look at Zaggle. Have you looked at it? The model, do you like it?
No, I really missed this company. I've not liked it.
Got it. Okay. It's a new listing. I don't know how much of a chart pattern can come out of this, but I'll try my luck, Kush. Either with you or Aditya. Let me start with you. Aditya, Kush, have you looked at Zaggle? Do the charts say anything?
Enough data to make a near-term view, and after a brief round of uptick, there's been this consolidation, and the stock's broken above the 20-day moving average on the back of decent volumes. However, I see resistances near the 375, 380 zone, which were the previous highs, and earlier around the year when the stock actually moved higher, that was a similar zone where the stock had actually hit resistances and corrected quite sharply all the way up to 270 kind of levels. So my suggestion, wait for it. If you've got a position, then you could continue to hold. But for a new entry, you should wait for 380 to be cleared in a more convincing manner, and then perhaps the momentum will come in. So for an existing position, wait. If you've got a position, you could continue to hold.
Okay, another stock in focus is Tata Power. It was up nearly 6.5%, still up over 5% today. The reason it's buzzing is because they've started production of 4.3 gigawatt solar cells and module plant at India's largest single location. The commercial production essentially from their 2 gigawatt solar cell line has begun, and the remainder capacity will be added over the next 4 to 6 weeks. This milestone has followed a successful production of solar modules earlier in 2024. Apart from that, I think some notes out today as well, which has also got Tata Power buzzing a fair bit. Aditya, let me come to you first on Tata Power and whether you see a further upside here.
There is a bit of upside, Tamanna. Maybe 465, 470 is what I'm looking at immediate targets. If I flip the chart to a monthly time frame, I see a lot of resistances around 470 odd levels, series of hanging man patterns. So until and unless it crosses 470 and closes above that, maybe I'll just go with a target of 470 as of now, with the stop loss just below 420.
Okay. So, stop loss below 420 for Tata Power. We'll take a very short break. On the other side, we shift gear and focus on autos. Remember the CM, that is the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers Conference is on. We've been getting you a whole host of top voices from the industry through the day. We get you some of those glimpses, and also what is the big theme coming out from this conference at a time when the sector and the pace of the sector has been under a bit of a cloud. So we come back with all of that after the break. Stay tuned. live. You're watching India Market Close, and it's turning out to be a pretty good afternoon for the markets. Let's focus a bit on telecom stocks right now. Nifty slipped below the 25,100 mark, so a bit of profit booking there. But coming back to telecom, Vodafone Idea in focus. Promoter KM Birla has bought 1.86 crore shares in the company at 1341. Pilani Investments has bought at 1341. And, Vodafone has actually been in focus since this morning. KM Birla has bought at 1338. And remember, this was the one big trigger that the market was looking at. That is the promoter family going to, or is the promoter going to infuse funds? And that seems to have happened. Now, this comes at a day when you've had a note out from Citi with a buy call at 22 rupees, while you had last week a Goldman Sachs target at 2.5 rupees. So anyway, a lot of debate over Vodafone and where it will actually go. Bharti Airtel actually is doing pretty well as in trade today, and you're seeing some upside there. So Telecom on a whole is also in focus. Bharti stock about 2.5% up. But Kush, let me come to you on Vodafone. And maybe we'll see some spike now after this news about the promoter coming in, and we'll get a view from Kush. But let me come to Aditya first. Yes, Aditya, do you like Vodafone at these levels? Are you buying the Citi theory of 22 rupees? Of course, they say high risk and everything, but 22 rupees is their target price.
Tamanna, initially I was happy you put the question to Kush, then you turned it around to me. It's a very difficult call to take on Vodafone Idea. It
was going to come to you in any case, maybe like 2 minutes later.
It's a difficult call to take. I would avoid getting into Vodafone Idea, to be very honest. Just going by the chart setup, it's too volatile. It doesn't offer any good risk to reward even at current levels. On the downside, maybe 11, 10.5 is a good support area. On the upside, I see hurdles close to about 15 to about 16 odd levels. So I would clearly avoid. If I have an option to invest somewhere else, I would not go for Vodafone Idea, to be honest.
So on the charts, stay away from Vodafone Idea. It's down over 14% in the last 3 months. Hemang Jani joins us this afternoon as well. Hemang, great to speak with you. And before, I get an overview on the markets and where the indices are heading, since we've been talking about Vodafone and Bharti Airtel, your take there. And do you see the, the news of Kumar Mangala Birla buying 1.86 crores to be a positive for the stock?
Good afternoon. I think, the fact that Vodafone did a decent amount of fundraise about, 6 months back, that surely was a positive news. And the rest of the, swing in the stock price, different brokerage reports, incrementally, they don't mean much, because I think the fact of the matter is that, the debt part is pretty much known in the market. Company tried its best to kind of resolve it by raising a substantial amount of equity. There is a commitment from the government. So while the stock may, correct from the high that it made, I don't see it really going down too much. It's a retail favorite stock because of the low price that it commands. Though we don't like on the valuation front, given the overall issue in terms of debt the company is facing, but having seen a sharp correction, the stock I don't think is likely to go below the issue price of 11 rupees or 12 rupees. So I think for retail investors or traders who are looking for a 8, 10, 15% kind of a move, it's not a bad stock. It's definitely high beta. It's a risky stock. But I do think that there is a value around 12-13 zone.
Okay, so that's the story as far as Vodafone is concerned. But I want to focus on autos as well, and we'll come to our special segment in just a bit, because we've been speaking to so many players across the industry all through the day on on our inputs from CM. But Tata Motors, let's begin with that. They've announced price cuts on key models on the EV side, and the stock's not reacted too well. A bit of a concern here, Hemang, and if you hear all of the commentary we've also been seeing from SIAM, they're all talking about how maybe they're at the bottom of the cycle on the sales slump, gearing up for festive season, etc. But the fact that you are seeing price cuts ahead of festive season, at least on the passenger vehicle side, does it bother you?
I think we've been hearing about some challenges, some issues on the inventory side, on the fact that the monthly numbers for passenger vehicles, even the LCV and HCV side not being so good. The only pocket which stood out was two-wheelers, where the numbers have been reasonably good for almost now 6 months. So I think, if I have to, get into auto, I would be more comfortable getting into something like a Hero Motor or TVS for the fact that the numbers are good. There is a little bit of excitement around the EV story because of the kind of valuation that Ola got. But certainly I would avoid Tata Motors, because Tata Motors, you have to really look at what's happening on the JLR front, and because of the complexity around the regions, around the kind of numbers that they would possibly get, it gets far more complicated. So I would avoid Tata Motors at this point.
Right. Okay, let me go across to our colleague Mugdha Mishra, who joins in from the SAM venue. She's spoken to a whole host of participants. And Mugdha, I would love to understand, what did you make of the conversations? Because sitting out here, when we look at announcements around discounts that companies are coming up with, it seems that for passenger vehicle companies in particular, the going must be tough. Is that the sense you're getting?
Well, the going has been tough till now, but it seems that the entire industry is quite positive about the festive season. They have seen good traction coming in since the start of the festive season. We have seen Onam starting, and we have seen Ganesh Chaturthi, and the sense that we are getting is that the festive season looks like it's going to be exciting. The monsoon has been very good, though it's still continuing, and it's also a bit harsh, but a good monsoon always ends up in reviving the rural economy, and that's something that we have seen. Maruti said that rural economy is doing very well there. The sales from rural economy has seen tremendous growth, and that segment is something that is really propelling the growth and the festive season, the entire industry, because there have been many new launches as well. So during the festive season, because of the new launches and a good monsoon, industry is quite hopeful about a good revival from here on.
Yeah, so they are obviously looking forward, and rural sales might move those festive season sales as well. But the fact remains that they are having to introduce price cuts before festive season. Thank you so much, Mugdha. And just a programming reminder, you can watch all of those interviews that we've done through the day from Siam at 6 p.m. this evening on NDTV Profit. But meanwhile, let's hear slices of those conversations, M&M, Maruti and Tata Motors, among others.
It's been a truly humbling experience. The kind of love we have gotten from all across the country has been amazing so far. The millions and millions of views we have got. We are gearing up for a very, very strong opening. October 3rd is when the bookings start. This weekend is when actually the test drives are starting. So we have vehicles reaching the dealerships already. And so there's a lot of excitement. And we are very sure that we're going to hit our capacity numbers with what we have.
April to August also, we are seeing that our rural market is growing by almost 10%. So we are very hopeful with this good monsoon, expecting a good harvest, and that obviously if a good harvest is there, it is going to come back into the economy. And initial response which is coming from the markets where the festival season has started is very encouraging.
Green shoots, I must say, in the month of September. We have some internal metrics like tracking the number of kilometers a truck is running per day, which is a very lead metric, and we see that there is already a growth happening in the first few days of September. We also have the festive season coming up, and I think with good rains there will be revival in rural economy also. With this we expect, I think the demand should now pick up. Now last year, second half for commercial vehicles was a bit muted, and therefore I personally expect second half of this year should be some, there should be some growth, and I'll be very happy to see the industry ending flat as compared to the previous year.
Okay, so that entire show, like I said, at 6 p.m. this evening, special coverage that you will be seeing, and we'll talk about how the industry is gearing up for growth. Meanwhile, actually coming to how the stocks are reacting, and we'll pull up the Nifty Auto just for a second, because it's been a blow hot, blow cold kind of a situation. I mean, even markets off their day's high. Nifty okay. Nifty Auto, they're about 0.24% up. Kush, back with us. Kush, if you can hear me, just your take on autos, and let's differentiate here between the two-wheeler players and the four-wheeler players. I'll start with the Tata Motors. Price cuts today, Street not taking it too well.
So, Tamanna, see, here's the thing. While we know that, the numbers from a fundamental perspective are painting a different picture, the technical side is also suggesting some consolidation, negative bias. But let's not forget that, these stocks have had a stupendous run, at least, the likes of M&M, even Tata Motors, if you see now for this year, Tata Motors would have consolidated. But, I don't think broadly there is something, too wrong with these stocks. I mean, they could correct a little further, maybe another 5%, maybe another 10% from here on. But these make a good, compelling buy at those levels. So for me, a Tata Motors and M&M, Maruti is a slightly different beast at the moment. It's stuck in a band of 12 to 13,000 and not really giving any kind of, very clear signals. But if a Tata Motors or let's say an M&M does continue to consolidate for some time, it will make a very good case for, a medium to, a long-term kind of a buy, this, consolidation acting as a launch pad. On the flip side, you've got the likes of TVS Motors, Bajaj Auto, Hero Moto. These stocks haven't really sort of hit that pause button, maybe a mild profit booking here and there, but not really from a momentum perspective. So the risk reward ratio here is not really as favorable for me. We're getting to see some negative divergences on some of these names. So if you want to trade, of course, TVS Motors, Bajaj Auto, might perhaps have some gains left, but I would hold my horses. Both these stocks at least are off their recent highs. Once they are surpassed is when, you could perhaps go out and buy. So the two-wheelers, while they remain interesting, I think the bulk of the moves already done. It's time perhaps for them to go out and consolidate. From a medium-term perspective, the likes of Tata Motors and M&M, are giving you a good opportunity to, start accumulating if you don't have them already.
Let me get your view, Hemang, on this. We spoke about the passenger vehicles, but are you still bullish on the two-wheeler side of things?
Yeah, I do think the overall growth, in that pocket has been quite, strong, about 12-14%. Also, the fact that, some of the IPOs like Ola Electric got a very good response from the market. And given the fact that some of the incumbents also have a very good offering on the EV side, and the market share, let's say in case of TVS, is almost as much as that of the Ola, and same is the case with Bajaj also. So I think there is enough, in terms of excitement for some of the two-wheeler companies, even going into the festive season. So we continue to be positive on Hero Motors and TVS both.
Okay. Well, the one set of stocks that are buzzing today, Aditya, are the wind energy players. After a really long time, all three are up and about in trade. Suzlon is up 5%. Inox Wind is up about 3%. Inox Wind Energy is up about 2.5%, 2%. Anything out here within this very small list, though, that looks interesting?
Yes, I like Inox Wind. In fact, one stock which we have recommended to our clients as well. Even at current levels, I think one can go ahead and initiate fresh long positions. Look for a target of 265 on the upside with the stop loss at 220. This is what we personally like. Second is Suzlon Energy. Though it has run up significantly, I think there is still more room on the upside. But again, the top of the list has to be Inox Wind.
Okay. Yeah, but keep in mind, viewers, that these stocks are extremely expensive. So research them well before you go out and buy them. A stock that is buzzing today is Gravita. That stock gains over 3% after MK maintains a buy rating, citing the introduction of the reverse charge mechanism for metal scrap as a benefit to the company. Frankly, it's not about this 4.5% move. It's about trying to understand what this reverse mechanism means for this or some of the other companies. Mahima Johnson to talk about that. Mahima, for a lot, it was a hotly debated subject, these moves that have happened in a stock like Gravita. What does MK have to say?
Right, Niraj. So they've maintained a buy with a target price of 1650. Now, what they've said is that introduction of reverse charge mechanism for metal scrap will benefit companies like Gravita. About 65% of overall lead recycling market is unorganized, and unorganized sector gets a meaningful cost advantage of 18% over organized player, and this is through the GST evasion that takes place. Now, with the introduction of RCM, the responsibility of deducting and depositing GST would now transfer to the buyer of the scrap, and this would benefit the organized sector overall, and the overall undue advantage which was enjoyed so far by the unorganized segment would start to reduce, and therefore it will benefit companies like Gravita. Just for viewer perspective, to give an example, when Gravita India buys scrap worth ₹100 from retail segment, it has to pay 100 plus 18% GST to the seller. Now, if the seller does not deposit the GST, the company would not receive any import tax credit. So, however, now with this new development, the company will buy ₹100 worth of scrap, would pay 98 to seller with deduction of 2% as TDS, and directly deposit GST of ₹18. So this would result in more transparency when it comes to transaction with the unorganized space overall. So this is why MK has maintained buy with a target price of 1650 for Gravita.
Focus. A couple of other stocks that are in focus as well. I want to pull up SJVN and I want to pull up IREDA, because this joint venture, this MOU actually that they have signed, the two companies, for the development of the Upper Karnali HEP project in Nepal. It's a 9,100 crore project, which is why you're seeing both the stocks jump. 6.5% up on SJVN, about 5% odd for IREDA. It's to be funded through 70-30 debt equity ratio, and the approximate project cost is 9,100 crores. So fairly big one. They will be providing this for the Nepal Electricity Authority, and in this the company and GMR will hold a 34% shareholding each. So GMR is also in it. Let me see if GMR is also seeing some kind of an upside, not airports. Okay, so GMR Airports up because they've increased their stake in Delhi airports. That's a different story. But let me get a view here from Hemang. So your renewable space, your SJVN and IREDA has seen enough of an upside for quite some time. Further upside now because of this major deal. Do you think more steam left there, Hemang?
I think you might see a little bit of action there because of the news flow, but overall, if you see the entire pocket, there was too much of exuberance. The valuations have gone out of whack. So I'm not very comfortable buying into these themes at current prices, current valuations, given the fact that some of the companies are not delivering very strong earnings growth. So from a tactical or a short-term momentum perspective, wherever you see good correction and you have a news flow, you might see action. But I'm avoiding this theme per se because I think it has been overplayed, and there are a lot of IPOs also lined up on the back of that theme. But it would make more sense to stay focused onto some of the large cap known names rather than chasing this theme.
Okay. Large cap, no names like which ones, Hemang?
So you have, let's say, banks are underperforming, and initial indications are there, ICICI Bank or maybe, Axis Bank. That is where we see a much better risk reward. Apart from that, jewelry as a theme, because of the IPO also, there is a little bit of excitement, and, Titan, after a long time, we are seeing a good amount of action. It's close to its all-time high level, just, 2 or 3% away. I think given the positioning that it has and the overall, growth that it can deliver, I would be more comfortable buying into that or some of the pharma names because of the this Biosecure Act which has been passed in the US, something like DVs and whole host of pharma companies, Laurus Labs, which could benefit in a major way because of that act being passed.
Just on the IPO, since you mentioned it, Hemang, keen to know from you how excited you are about some of the IPOs which are open right now. Bajaj Housing Finance, Cross, Tollins, all open since yesterday. PN Gadgil open today. Anything over here which you find interesting?
So VN Gadgil, I did go through the numbers and the note, and what stood out for me is the fact that the company is right now, located mostly in Maharashtra, about 39 odd store, but its overall growth in the last 3 years, the operating profit margin, the ROE is exceptionally good. And I do think that though the valuations are not attractive at 42 times its historic earnings, but I do think that at least the numbers and the story there is looking quite convincing. Bajaj Housing, of course, a great legacy name, but housing as a theme is actually not looking that great. You see, the HDFC, post the merger with HDFC Limited, HDFC Bank has been a laggard, though it's the top player in the housing, finance market. So not too excited about that. And the valuations are also, they haven't left much on the table for investors. But I think VN Gadgil is looking quite interesting.
Okay. NHPC is also in focus. The company has signed a pact with the Maharashtra government for a hydropower project. And we spoke to the CMD Rajkumar Chaudhary today, who expects both profits and revenue to double in the next 4 years. Listen in.
Next 4 years, we are going to double the profit after tax. So in the next 4 years, means by the end of 28 financial year, profit will be, presently it is 3,700. So at the end of financial year 28, during the financial year, we will get profit after tax more than 7,000. So almost we are expecting double. Presently it is 9,000 crore. So from 9,000 crore plus, it will double. Revenue also, it will be double. For the EBITDA margin will be almost same, 57% or like that. So it will be double.
Well, that's one conversation that happened on India Market Open today. The other one was CEAT. Well, tires apparently are set to get more expensive. At least that's what the head honcho of CEAT, Arnab Banerjee, told us. He also told us that the company is hiking prices by 2 to 3 percentage points this month itself. Listen in.
So overall, if you take the basket of price hike, another 2 to 3% price hike is required, and we may take about half of that in the month of September. India is rubber deficit, so hardly 60% of the requirement of natural rubber is produced inside the country. There is always a price arbitrage between domestic rubber prices and international prices. However, this year, this difference has gone on to be too high, about 30-40% higher is domestic rubber, which is seldom seen. It is at a 15-year high. Availability of rubber has also been patchy. Now it's kind of evening out. This kind of volatility is not seen regularly. If the prices are flat, albeit at a high level, we can manage the margins through appropriate pricing measure.
Okay, so that was the word coming in from CEAT. If you want to catch that full interview, you know where to go. Go on NDTV Profit's social handles and, of course, our YouTube channel as well. CEAT come off the day's best levels today, about 0.5% down. But let's get into closing strategies. Just a few minutes left before we close session for the day, and it's been a fairly good day. Some profit booking, at least on the index. But Kush, what would be your BTST idea for tomorrow?
Incidentally, the one that we discussed at the start of the show, which is FSL. I know we discussed this around 325 odd levels. The stock's already close to 330. And on the back of surging volumes. So I think this one could continue. I think you should buy this from a BTST perspective for targets of 336 and 340. On the downside, 324 will now act as a support zone. So FSL, closing strong could be is a strong BTST candidate.
So okay, first source is Kush is sticking to that call. What about you, Aditya?
I've got a kind of a different stock this time around, Tamanna. It's Saregama, not the one that we usually talk about. Looks very interesting on the chart setup. After a good up move, stock went into consolidation, and now today's stock is up again 5%. I think at current levels, one can definitely go ahead and buy the stock for a target of at least 580 on the upside. If that is taken off, 620 will be my next target. On the downside, stop loss is at 500. So with the stop loss at 500, initiate a fresh long position for a target of 580, 600 in Saregama.
Okay, so Saregama, interesting call over there. I mean, media in focus a little bit.
Sanjeev Goenka Group in focus as well. First source, Saregama. It's very interesting that both our charters have picked up a Sanjeev Goenka Group stock.
Yes, absolutely. I want to see what Philip Carbon Black is doing.
Good idea.
Because since you've picked that theme, let's see what PCBL is doing. Also about 3% up. So that's a whole different category of stocks now, with the promoter group in focus more than anything else. But since we've been talking about renewables, SJV, and we spoke about briefly with Hemang, we'll get the chartist's view on it as well. But look at a Suzlon. Suzlon also 5% up today in trade. Aditya, would you venture to any of these renewables names? NHPC,
Yes.
SJVN, IREDA, Suzlon. I mean, I'm broadly putting them in the same bucket, but even so.
I would, Tamanna, but maybe not a Suzlon. There are other pockets which I think looks interesting to me. SW Solar is something which is looking very interesting to me on the chart setup. Stock went into a sideways consolidation, a rounding bottom pattern. From there, it's breaking out again. So SW Solar is something that I would buy for a target of 830 on the upside with a stop loss at 700 on the downside. The second stock which we discussed some time back is Inox Wind. That is also something which is looking very interesting to me on the charts. Can be bought at current levels for a target of at least 280 on the upside to about 300. So these are the two stocks which I definitely like. And the third one, Tata Power, we also spoke of, maybe for a brief target of 470 to about 475. That's it.
Good going. Hemang, we haven't discussed these, but at current levels for a Suzlon or an Inox Wind, are they too expensive, or does the growth make up for the valuations?
I think, given the excitement and the way the companies are, going about raising money, I do find it expensive for sure, given the fact that, Niraj, globally, this green energy and EV and, the related theme is actually not showing any great growth as such. In fact, in China, solar, cell prices also have come off, and the stocks also are not doing so well. So I do think that there is a little bit of exuberation here, and we should, wait out for some concrete numbers before we really, take a plunge onto this names at this price point, at these valuations.
Okay. Valuations concerned when it comes to Suzlon, definitely. Just a quick call, Kush, on any of these stocks?
So, Aditya's already mentioned Inox Wind. Between the two, Inox Wind and Suzlon, for sure, Inox Wind stands out, above the key, averages, and also surpass the 235 resistance mark. So, if I were to trade one of these at the moment, Inox Wind would be the one that I'd be looking at.
Okay, well, just mark Piramal Pharma for a moment, because that stock in the intraday would be helpful, because it's just suddenly had this bounce. It was up 4-5%, and Piramal Pharma has suddenly shot up in trade. So I wonder if the others have done this. But look at this spike here in Piramal Pharma. Some really sharp move there on this one. Wonder if the Laurus's and the Divis of the world also have done an encore. But Piramal in particular doing really well for itself, not so much for the others. Okay, let's get the heat map up on the screen, because the markets are shutting shop. Very quickly, this is the large caps. Not a bad picture, 0.5% up for the Nifty. Nifty IT leading the way. Yes, some of the life insurance stocks have fallen in the session today, but Pharma, IT rocking in trade. There's also Bharti Airtel, which is doing very well for itself in the session, but credit has to be given where it's due. Information technology, Tamanna, large, mid, small, except for ER&D, everything has done really well for itself.
Yeah, I'm keen to see where a CoForge is landing up, since that's also a stock which has been in focus on the mid-cap side. A CoForge, a Persistent, and closing not bad, 5% up. Another segment which is not doing too badly at all is a recovery in all the Adani Group stocks. So look at ports, power, enterprise. Of course, standard disclaimers there have seen recovery through the day as well. The index is itself not looking like you're closing above 25,100, but not half bad. We'll pull up the mid cap and the small cap before we get into specific stocks on the broader end of the spectrum. But let's look at what's happening there. Yeah, you're closing about less than 1.5% up on the Nifty mid cap. of the highest points of the day, but not a bad close. Nothing to complain at all from any angle. Let's look at the BSE 500 top gainers and losers today and the picture that you're getting over there. On the downside is some of your insurance names, which was expected because their numbers from last month weren't great. So HDFC, not Life not doing too well. New India over there I can spot as well. Some of your financials have seen general weakness, and PNB Housing making it to that side of the list. But yeah, Tata Power interesting. Piramal Pharma, that big spike up. Sumitomo Chem, you've seen some chemical stocks also doing fairly well, and I'm not sure why Prism Johnson is now at a 20% circuit, but that's been having a great day as well. So a mixed kind of a picture. We can hope for a good day tomorrow as well, and I'll be waiting to see the debate, the Kamala Harris Donald Trump debate, 6:30 a.m. India time, and maybe that'll set the mood for what we see in the markets tomorrow.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the show today.